Hey kids, this is the video for home connections 33 and 34. Number 1, 10 times 3. You could think when you multiply 10 by any number, you just add a 0 to that number, or multiplying 10 by any number shifts that number one place to the left and then you fill in a 0. You also could think 1 times 3 is 3, 1 0 on the top, 1 0 on the bottom. 2 times 3 is 6, 1 0 on the top, 1 0 on the bottom. 3 times 3 is 9, 1 0 on the top, 1 0 on the bottom. What times 3 is 12? 4 times 3 is 12. There's 1 0 on the bottom, so I also need 1 0 on the top. So when you're multiplying with extended facts, look at the basic fact and then make sure that the zeros are balanced. The same number of extra zeros in the problem, the same number of extra zeros in the answer. 5 times 3 is 15, 1 0 on the top, 1 0 on the bottom. 6 times 3 is 18, 1 0 on the top, 1 0 on the bottom. 7 times 3 is 21, 1 0 on the top, 1 0 on the bottom. 8 times what is 24? Well, 8 times 3 is 24. There's already a 0 on the top and the bottom, so the zeros are balanced, so just 3 is the answer. 9 times 3 is 27. 1 0 on the top, 1 0 on the bottom. When you multiply a number by 100, you add 2 zeros to that number, or think that number shifts 2 places to the left, and then you fill in 2 zeros. You also could think 1 times 3 is 3, 2 zeros on the top, 2 zeros on the bottom. 1 times 3 is 3, 3 zeros on the top, 3 zeros on the bottom. 1 times 3 is 3, 4 zeros on the top, 4 zeros on the bottom. What times 3 is 3? Well, 1 times 3 is 3. And I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros in the answer, so I'm going to need 5 zeros in my problem. Let me just make sure that that works. 1 times 3 is 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros in the problem, 5 zeros in the answer. Good. 1 times 3 is 3. 6 zeros in the problem, 6 zeros in the answer. Explain the strategies. So the strategy that I often use is I multiply the basic facts then I make sure the zeros are balanced or the same. In the problem and answer. You might say something like, when you multiply by 10, you add 1 0. When you multiply by 100, you add 2 zeros. Those would be some of the strategies you could use as well. Number 3, solve some more problems. Okay, 10 times 4 would just be 40. You could think 1 times 4 is 4, 1 0 in the problem, 1 0 in the answer. 2 times 5 is 10. Be careful because 10 has a 0 in it, but we need 1 0 in addition to that, giving us an answer of 100. 3 times 7 is 21. 1 0 in the problem, 1 0 in the answer. 4 times 2 is 8. 1 0 in the problem, 1 0 in the answer. 5 times 5 is 25. 1 0 in the problem, 1 0 in the answer. 6 times 4 is 24. 1 0 on the top, 1 0 on the bottom. 7 times 5 is 35. 1 0 on the top, 1 0 on the bottom. The second row, 8 times 4 is 32. 1 0 on the top, 1 0 on the bottom. 9 times 5 is 45. 1 0 on the top, 1 0 on the bottom. 1 times 8 is 8. 2 more zeros. 1 times 9 is 9. 3 more zeros. 6 times 8 is 48, plus a 0. 7 times 2 is 14, plus a 0. 8 times 5 is 40. Be careful because 40 ends in a 0, but we need 1 0 in addition to that. 80 times 5 is 400. 4 times 4 is 16. 2 more zeros. 3 times 6 is 18. 2 more zeros. 5 times 5 is 25. 2 more zeros. 6 times 9 is 54 with 2 zeros. 2 times 8 is 16 with 2 zeros. 7 times 4 is 28 with 2 zeros. And 8 times 5, be careful, is 40 because 40 already ends in a 0. That's just part of the basic fact. We need 2 zeros in addition to that. So it looks like there's 3 zeros in the answer and only 2 zeros in the problem, but that's because one of those zeros is part of the basic fact. So you could think 2 extra zeros in the problem, 2 extra zeros in the answer. Home connections 34. Look at the rectangle below. The area is 240 square centimeters. One side is 12 centimeters. And they want to know what's the other side. I know that 12 times 2 is 24, but the area is not 24. The area is 240, which has a 0 there, which makes me think of the number 10. So I really need it to not be 2. I really need it to be 20. Let's make sure that works. 12, that's one side, times 20, that's the other side, should equal the area. 12 times 2 is 24. 1 0 in the problem, 1 0 in the answer. So that means the length of that missing side is 20. 20 centimeters. One side is 12 centimeters. One side is 20 centimeters. Multiply those two lengths together and you get 240 square centimeters. But because we're just finding the length of something, it should just be plain centimeters. Sonia measured the cover of her library book she was reading. The length was 10 inches and the width was 5 inches. Which equation represents how to find the area? I know area is the length times the width. So 10 times 5. I know the answer is 50, but they didn't want the answer. They just wanted the equation that you could use to figure out the answer. Number 6, I love this ratio table. It skips around a lot, but if you can use parts of the ratio table to figure out other parts of the ratio table, that's where you'll find success. So it's for the number 31. 1 times 31 is 31. I know that 2 times 31 is 62. If you know 2 times 31, then 20 times 31 would be the same thing, but with a 0. I also know that 3 times 31 is 93. If you didn't know that, off to the side, give it a try. Let's see. There it is. 3 31s is 93. So 3 times 31 is 93. And if you know 3 times 31, then you should know 30 times 31. It's the same thing, but with a 0. If you know 1 times 31 is 31, then 10 times 31 is the same thing, but with a 0. Now this is awesome. If you could figure out what 10 times 31 is, which is easy, you can then figure out what 5 times 31 is. If I cut 10 in half, I get 5. So now I just need to cut 310 in half. So 310 cut in half, let's see. 300 cut in half is 150, and 10 cut in half is 5, so 155. 300 cut in half is 150. 10 cut in half is 5, and put it together, I get 155. Now, do you see the similarities between this and this? The only difference is one of them has a 0 in it, which means it's 10 times bigger. So if this is 10 times bigger, I'm sorry, if this is 10 times bigger than this, then this must be 10 times bigger than that. If 5 times 31 is 155, then 50 times 31 is the same thing but with a 0. So in this ratio table, the key was do the parts that you know, and that will help you figure out the parts that you don't know. Last one. 9 times 9 is 81. 2 in the problem, 2 in the answer. 4 times 12 is 48. 2 in the problem, 2 in the answer. 8 times 9 is 72. 2 in the problem, 2 in the answer. 6 times 12 is 72. 2 in the problem, 2 in the answer. 7 times 11 is 77, with 2 more zeros. 8 times 8, you can tell your family this story. When I was a little girl, I could not for the life of me remember that 8 times 8 was 64. So my mom said, can you imagine a little old woman who love each other? So she made 2 little people, and she sang a Beatles song about 2 old people who love each other. When I get over losing my hair many years from now, will you still be sending me a Valentine? Birthday greetings, bottle of wine. If I stay out till 2:45, would you lock the door? Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64? So when I was little, I totally sang a Beatles song to remember that 8 times 8 was 64. 2 extra zeros in the problem, 2 extra zeros in the answer. 8 times 12 is 96. 2 extra zeros in the problem, 2 extra zeros in the answer. All right, here are the answers for Home Connections 33. And Home Connections 34. Okay, kids, I'll see you in class.